Whenever you're ready.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Gordy, and my topic is why multilinguistic education should be implemented within the American primary school system. All right. So throughout my research, I kind of realized that there were 5 major kind of defining things about this issue. First off, you start with the developmental phase that children are in when they're in primary school. And this is kind of the why do it then. Then you have cognitive benefits that are afforded by it, health benefits, economic benefits, and cultural benefits. So, starting off with the developmental benefits, we actually, when children are very, very young, they have incredibly vast language learning abilities. However, these abilities go down as children age, and kind of once a lot of these abilities and these kind of neural networks have been cut off, they're gone. They unfortunately don't come back to the same extent. It means that learning languages fluently and kind of getting a lot of the benefits I'm going to talk about become much harder when you don't start teaching children in primary school. But when you do, the really interesting thing that happens is a lot of the kind of the de-evolution and degradation of these networks stops. The brain kind of freezes it right there. And so even if the children don't kind of become fluent right then, they're actually able to become fluent later in life. It kind of gives them this incredible opportunity. So moving on to some of the benefits I was talking about. First off, in the cognitive benefits is the ability to process conflicting information. What this means is when a child is exposed, for example, in a classroom, if they're trying to listen to a lesson and there's a lot of chatter going around them, bilingual or multilingual children are able to better contextualize both of these kind of stimulus and pay attention to the lesson. They actually are able to be more aware of what's going on around them. This is because of increased development in this area of the brain. This is an image from Chris Berube's article, Mapping the Bilingual Brain. And it's a result of the fact that when a multilingual or bilingual individual has to switch languages, the brain essentially has to activate one area while simultaneously suppressing a whole nother. Which means that while monolingual individuals have these networks too, the networks in bilingual brains are more developed. Think of it like a muscle. Like the more you use a muscle, the more it works, and the faster it works. And the same principle applies here. All right. Okay. So, in this table, the dotted line represents kind of a baseline of both monolingual and bilingual individuals when they're not being exposed to conflicting stimuli. The dashed line is bilingual individuals, and the dark line is actually monolingual individuals. And as you can see, this represents accuracy rate. Bilingual or multilingual individuals are not only kind of more accurate in their responses, they're also a whole lot faster. And that kind of hammers it home that it not only increases accuracy, but it also increases ability to comprehend things in the moment. So, another cognitive benefit that's actually in a pretty similar strain to this is increased adjustment abilities. What this means is when bilingual or multilingual children are kind of transitioning between a topic, let's say in the classroom, let's say it's between math and reading, they're able to do so more efficiently. And by that I mean they're able to do so faster, and they're able to do so better. What that means is they're able to comprehend more of the information on both sides. All right. So this is, like I said, it is due to a similar reason. It's due to the same kind of general principle of the brain having to activate certain areas while it suppresses other areas, but it's more specifically related to these 2 areas and the connections between them. The connections between the Broca's area and the Weinrich's area are actually a lot stronger in bilingual and multilingual brains than they are in monolingual brains. So these bilingual or multilingual children are able to kind of transition between different subjects faster, which leads to less classroom time kind of being taken up and children just kind of being able to learn a lot more within the time that we're given with them. All right, so moving on to health. Alzheimer's and dementia currently make up the 6th largest mortality factor of adults in the United States, and they account for 44.3% of hospice patients within the country. Unfortunately, these numbers are expected to rise as the baby boomer generation ages and the American healthcare system becomes more strained. However, there is kind of a way to fight back against this. Being bilingual or multilingual actually not only lowers the rates of Alzheimer's and dementia that people experience, it delays the age of kind of that the disease itself manifests, and it significantly delays the age at which these individuals need help or kind of need to be going to the doctors or need to be being looked after. This means that there are fewer healthcare expenses and there's a lot less of a burden on families. In addition, in the health kind of topic, bilingual and multilingual individuals experience a healthier aging process overall. This is because they have larger amounts of what is coined by neurologists as the cognitive reserve. This means that neural networks within bilingual or multilingual brains are more resistant to the aging process, where, of course, naturally over time, a lot of these kind of connections degrade. But this doesn't happen as quickly in multilingual or bilingual brains. As a result, there are fewer medical issues related to the brain, and bilingual individuals are more alert and aware of what's going on around them and kind of more cognizant citizens as they age. This also means fewer medical expenses and kind of less of a burden in general, and these individuals are able to actually contribute more for longer. All right, so moving on to economic and cultural benefits. First off, starting with the economic advantages. In a survey of the top 500 CEOs of multinational corporations, the vast majority reported that multilingual and bilingual individuals have greater career kind of prospects in their companies. They said that this is majorly because not only are they more versatile as workers, as they can kind of exist in different environments, they don't necessarily have to be working in one area versus another area, they also help smooth communication throughout a company that's operating within different languages and ensures that fewer kind of mistranslations occur. In a study conducted by Sandra Frad and Oak Hill Lee, not only did they find that bilingual and multilingual individuals are more likely to be employed by than their monolingual counterparts, they also found that on average, multilingual or bilingual individuals earn more money. On average in Florida, it was found to be about $7,000 in different. However, the same holds throughout the United States and throughout Canada. As you can see in this graph here, almost across the board, bilingual individuals are making just as much, if not more, as their monolingual counterparts. So, now, cultural identity. This is kind of the major cultural benefit that being multilingual or bilingual presents. What this means is multilingual or bilingual individuals can coexist within multiple cultural identities. This essentially means that when exposed to kind of different cultures, they're able to kind of internalize both but hold them as separate. This has been shown in studies by Cynthia Feliciano, Victoria Marin, Timothy Mao, and others, all from reputable universities. Not only did they find that it kind of creates this ability to hold multiple identities, it also creates a more stable sense of self as a result. And kind of diminishes a well-documented effect that's called like culture clash. It often occurs in especially teenagers and more often in minority groups. And being bilingual or multilingual actually decreases that. And through that, they're able to tie that to greater economic or greater educational success and lower dropout rates. So when you're kind of implementing a program that's doing something like this, you're not only giving children greater cognitive, medical, and economic benefits throughout their whole life, you're also increasing their rates of success academically. All right. And while all of this is great, obviously, it begs the question, can we do it? And the answer is yes. Looking at programs that have been currently implemented throughout Utah in about 1/4 of the elementary schools, these programs actually, starting in kindergarten, individuals spend 50% of their time in Mandarin or Spanish mostly, and 50% of their time in English. Not only have these programs been implemented well, they did not cost an excessive amount, and they're already showing some of the vast cognitive benefits that experts kind of had studied, but now we're kind of seeing them in a real world context. So, in conclusion, multilinguistic education gives children vast developmental, cognitive, economic, cultural, and health advantages, and we can do it. It's something that's realistic and can be done to help out a lot of children.
Thank you, Claire. For your questions, how did you select the strategies you used to gather information or conduct research, and were your strategies effective?
All right, so most of my strategies have kind of remained consistent throughout this year. My first big kind of step is identifying what source material kind of interests me the most. Then what I do is I go into kind of databases and reputable journals, and I kind of start to try and search for keywords. I try not to make that many assumptions kind of straight off the bat, and just look at all of the information. And first off, I have to make sure that it's reputable, make sure that it's coming from universities that I recognize, make sure that the authors are experts in their fields, make sure that the article has been cited, make sure that it's kind of well regarded academically, and then I can kind of say, okay, what does this tell me? And I take it from there. And that's actually worked really well for me.
Nice. If you had more time, what additional research would you conduct related to this issue?
I think I would actually look even further into the economic and cultural benefits. Well, I find those really fascinating, and I think, while the cognitive benefits and health benefits are a lot more accessible, those are kind of more nuanced, and I unfortunately didn't have as much time as I would like to kind of delve into the nitty-gritty details and kind of everything that it'll do. And so I got like a couple of major points, but I think there was a lot more there that I could have explored. And so that's really what I would do if I had extra time.
Very nice, thank you. Who's next? Is Rahul next? No, as Gus is next. As Gus sets up, if anyone has